Greetings and salutations. Happy Easter, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. This evening, I'm going to share with you some brief Dogman encounters that I happened to stumble across. Encounter 1. A few years ago, around midnight, I was on my way home to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan on the I-75, a couple hundred yards south of the Bay Road overpass in Mackinac County. I noticed something move near the highway reflectors. Thinking it was a deer, I turned on the bright lights and watched for it to cross the road. As I approached it, I noticed that what I thought was the reflectors on the highway was orange, and then it blinked on and off like an eye. Thinking, what the heck was that? I sped up to get closer. As I got closer, I could see the silhouette of an animal. It was sitting like a dog. Its head was even with the reflectors. It stood on all fours and turned and walked down into the ditch and then up a little incline, then turned and looked at my truck. It turned back to the highway, walked on all fours to the shoulder of the blacktop, looked at my truck again with those orange eyes. The eyes were huge. It then jumped to within a foot or two of the center line. And then the next jump landed on the grass of the shoulder on the other side of the road. I was probably like 100 feet from it. This animal was rippling in muscles and looked like it weighed around 500 pounds or more. Its hair, which covered its body, looked short, and its head was huge, with hardly no neck. After I passed where it crossed, I hit the brakes as there were no cars on the highway, and started to back up. As I got close to the spot where it crossed, I suddenly felt fear and thought, what the hell am I doing? I put the truck back in drive and began to leave. As I was rolling the window up, I glanced back and noticed a light, bright like a floodlight, ascending into the sky at a high rate of speed. It was at an angle about 1 o'clock, and in just a few seconds it was out of sight. Something else that was strange was there were not any light rays trailing it. Encounter 2. It was me and my buddy, and we were in Roscommon, Michigan. We were on our way out into the woods for our evening hunt. The hunt went well. We saw the normal 2 to 3 deer, but we couldn't get a shot. So we left a little early because we were irritated. We put our stuff back in the back of the truck. My buddy heard some rustling in the woods behind us. So me and my buddy got our flashlights out of the truck, and then we started to shine it into the brush. We saw 2 huge red glowing eyes about 7 feet off the ground. We followed them down, and all we could see was a massive dog's foot sticking out of the brush. So we ran to the truck in fear. When the lights turned on, we saw a dog that stood upright about 7 foot tall, and we started driving away. We never saw it again, and that had to be the scariest thing of our lives. Encounter 3. Okay, in Halton Lake, Michigan, in 2010, I went camping with my dad and my brother. We went out to the real woods, not just a campsite. It was somewhere around noon, and we started to hear coyotes yelp and howl. My dad said the coyotes are never out this early. My dad howled at them, and they howled back. My dad thought maybe they were sick and looking for food. He said that they'd do anything for food if they were sick. I didn't know about the legend of the Dogman during this time, but now I'm starting to wonder if maybe it was a Dogman. It came time for bed for me and my brother, and my dad stayed up by the fire. He woke us up early, like 2 or 3 in the morning, and made us go out into the truck to sleep there for the rest of the night, because the sounds were only like 20 feet away. I asked him the next day to howl at them again, and he said no, because he didn't want them to come to eat us. He said that the next time he goes camping with us, he's bringing a gun just in case. Encounter 4. My dad and I were out hunting near Luther, and we were on this hill in the woods. There was this tree that was fork-shaped. I saw something standing there, but Dad didn't. It looked like a wolf that was standing up. I couldn't see it well because it was about 30 yards away and the foliage was all around it. I didn't tell my dad because he would have told me I was seeing things. I shot at it with my BB gun to see what it would do. It just moved a little and still stared at us. I can't believe my dad didn't see it, but he didn't have his glasses on that day. We walked away and I turned around and I didn't see it. I know what it looked like because I saw an artist's rendition of the Dogman. He had the same ears as some pictures I had seen. I had the crap scared out of me that day. Encounter 5. I was walking the woods with my boyfriend one day and I saw something run out in front of me at a distance. It did startle me, but at first I thought it was nothing, so we just kept on walking. I saw it again and it startled me even more because I didn't know what it was at the time. It looked like a dog and a man at the same time. It didn't dawn on me at the time, but after a few minutes of thinking of it, I remembered the legend of the Michigan Dogman. My boyfriend just laughed at me when I told him I wanted to go home because he didn't believe me. We started to walk further away into the woods when my boyfriend saw it. He decided to turn around and go home. The closer we got to my house, it seemed that the figure got closer and closer. I looked behind us 3 or 4 more times, but the very last time I looked at the figure, it started to run after us, so we ran all the way home. We never went out into those woods again. Encounter 6. I recently recalled an experience from my childhood that had been repressed in my mind since I was about 4 or 5 years old. As a child, I grew up on a 20-acre lot just on the outskirts of Cadillac. At the time, there was more tree coverage and fewer industrial sites in the area. We were mostly surrounded by the woods. One early summer morning, I had gotten up before dawn to watch my dad get off for work. Some mornings he'd get up at 3:30 to 4 a.m. and start his day. Me and my mom would get up and send him on his way, daily routine back then. He'd always put on his work pants and work shirt over his regular clothes and proceed to go out to his truck and load his equipment for the day. His work clothes were dark and mossy looking material, really coarse feeling. In the darkness, he looked really shaggy. The morning of my encounter, I had gotten up a little earlier than usual and was very groggy. I stumbled to the large plate glass window and saw something rummaging in the truck's bed over the side of the truck. I assumed it was just my dad, so I banged on the window to get his attention and wave. I was chilled to the bone, but what peered back at me? A creature that stood on 2 feet, but for the life of me had a head of a dog, canine-like, but yet somehow human. We locked eyes for what seemed to be an eternity. Strangely enough, though, the eyes were not yellow as everyone else seems to see them. They were a pale yellow-green color. I finally mustered a scream and fell backwards off the couch in front of the window. As I was falling backwards, the creature had already hit all fours and was lunging for the window. He started at a good 20 feet away from the truck's back end. My scream had gotten my dad out of the bedroom and into the living room, yelling to my mom to hush me up. He looked out the window and asked me what I saw, but I was just sobbing. He went to the front door and turned the porch light on and found nothing. Annoyed that his morning was off to a not-so-quiet start, he made my mother take me back to bed with her for when he left for the day. I was so traumatized by this experience, I repressed it for all these years. It took looking up the Dogman and studying cryptozoology to kick the memory loose again. The house where this all took place still stands, but the tree coverage that was abundant as a child, whatever that thing is, I'm sure he's still out there waiting. Encounter 7. It was November 15th, and me and my dad were heading to our deer blinds. It was around 6:30. It was very dark and foggy, and you could only see a few feet in front of you. I got in my blind and got ready. Then, about 10 minutes later, I heard something running behind me. I got scared because deer shouldn't be awake. Then I could see something down the road. It looked like a bear, but it was standing on 2 feet. Then it stopped and it looked like it was sniffing the air. I hoped it didn't smell me because it was looking right at me. Then it just ran off the other way. I finally got the nerve to call my dad to come get me. Then I told him what had happened. He told me he saw 2 coyotes and that my cousin had shot one. Something was weird. We never see coyotes out here when we're hunting. But all of a sudden there were 3. It was like there was a coyote frenzy going on. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed these brief encounters that I stumbled across. Like I said, I found them and I wanted to share them with you. Our next encounter will probably be a subscriber encounter or some more state encounters. I hope everyone has a great Easter. Once again, I leave my PayPal account in the description below. Like I said, I'm not going to be monetizing this channel, but I do need some help supporting it. If you can't help, don't worry about it. It's really, I'll keep putting out content for you guys. I love doing this, and I know you guys love it. So with that, have a great night, guys. Thanks for listening.